So I got up early on the Sunday morning, got into the car, loaded up the miniatures and the terrain, and headed off to sunny Melbourne. Bit dreary, bit overcast, typical winter's day in Victoria. Took about an hour and 45 minutes on the way, stopped off in North Melbourne, picked up Arno, and we then headed straight to Caulfield RSL, where we broke out the terrain and miniatures and set up.
Yeah, I'm all locked down.
Alright, so we've finished the patrol phase. Because all the Germans are locked down. So the Germans have got patrol markers along. They've seized a lot of ground, and the Canadians have, well, they might not have made a lot of ground depth-wise, but they've certainly got a lot of ground width-wise. So that's not a bad result for both sides.
The objective was to get the road over there, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the German patrol phase resulted in jump markers here, and well out on the flanks. There's one there, and one in here. And the Canadians, their jump off markers, they've got one behind this triangle field, one in the woods, one in the field there, and one behind the wall there. And the objective is at the end of that road there. So when we come back, we'll start with our first phase. This is the motor rifle platoon.
No, this is the
full strength British
platoon with.
Okay, and they've got a pair of Germans with them as well.
Yep.
Okay, and
hang on, you want to pull out the understrength platoon?
These AB-20 are really good.
They are. I think AB miniatures are. When it comes to So this is the understrength British rifle platoon, and it's got engineers and a Vickers in support, and then obviously the three sections, but the sections are 8 man strong as opposed to 10.
Yes.
Okay.
They've been doing some hard fighting.
They have. So is there an overall plan for the...
So the boundary is the road to the Owen River.
Yep.
First platoon with the tanks will advance on the left flank.
Yep.
Second platoon with the machine gun engineers will attempt to breach the minefield in the center.
Yep.
And then envelop.
All right, there you go. So it's attack on the left and envelop from the right. So the Germans have placed their wire there. Minefield in here, 2 wire antagonists there, and another minefield in there. So obviously creating a hard shoulder on the left. There's one platoon there, and the second platoon here.
Commands that you can do for people on Overwatch, you can show.
And the Force Morale, one squad is at Force Morale 9, and one platoon, Force Morale 9, and another platoon is at Force Morale 8.
So we'll now just have a look at the map and talk a bit about the initial deployment. The patrol phase went pretty poorly for the Canadians. They actually didn't make any ground worth speaking of. By contrast, the Germans made a lot of ground on the Canadian left flank, and that enabled them to put one platoon well forward on the right, which was going to have all sorts of problems for the Canadians right from the get-go. Obviously, deploying so far forward when in defence is a risky thing, insofar as you could lose your jump-off points early, but the German commander decided that the benefits of having a platoon deployed well forward in the 2 buildings on the right flank were worth it. The German platoon that was in depth, the one on the left-hand side, its front was covered by 3 wire entanglements and 2 minefields, and they also had some pretty good cover from walls. So the depth platoon on the left the Germans was in a pretty strong position, and they created quite a hard left shoulder.
So it'll be the first phase. If you want to roll them in here. Okay, first phase for the Canadians. So what have they got? So you've got a phasing dice. So you've got a 6, 2 3s, a 1 and a 2, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so take them out and put them on your... and the other platoon has... double phase. They've got 2 6s. 3 or 4 and a 3, 4, 1. The other British section, they rolled 3, 3, 2, 1.
Good at the second move.
They brought on a section there, section on the high ground there, and a section behind that wall there. So the first British platoon, they had a 3, a 1, a 4, so they brought on a mortar team, the 2-inch, they brought on a platoon sergeant, and they brought on a Sherman, and then they also rolled a double 6, so they're going to get a double phase. So Arno, what did you
So I rolled a 1, 2, 3, 3.
Yeah.
So 1 is the team,
Yeah,
2-inch mortar. 1 is the junior leader plus his section, and then 2 sections.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, let's pause now and just review the situation as it stands after the first phase. I should point out at this stage that the 2 Canadian commanders were Arno and Andrew. Andrew, however, had to leave unexpectedly, and so one of the bystanders, a fellow by the name of Paul, stepped up. Hi, Paul. Thanks for stepping into the breach and took over the Canadian platoon on the left. On the right-hand flank, Arno deployed his platoon pretty much on the first phase, was able to get almost everything on. On the Canadian left flank, Paul was only able to get his platoon sergeant, a 2-inch mortar, and call forward a M4 Sherman. There was a pre-game barrage falling at this stage, and so the Germans did struggle a little bit to get all their squads on. But initially they were able to get a couple of squads on, and
So he's got on.
they got one squad into
And then he's told the guys
the building next
so this
to
is the first squad.
the
They
road,
deployed behind this wall
and
here,
they
they're
deployed a
gonna
squad
open fire
in behind the
on
wall there.
that British
As soon as they
British
deployed,
which is
they
on Overwatch, which will
opened
shoot
fire
back at
on
Yes, I
this
see.
phase. All right.
Canadians in the diamond-shaped field.
Six
Not
inches
too bad.
from that
That second
marker
die roll was
there,
shit.
so you can deploy along there.
Alright. So I can actually be up here.
Yeah, so you can deploy your reserve section there when they come on, but the rest of you can deploy along that line.
Okay, so there are 6 hits over here on one team and 6 hits on the 2-inch mortar.
We've got to find
So
your
what you have to do
commander.
now is you have to roll to see what those
Commander
hits,
is and get him off.
the effect of those hits.
And it's hard cover.
So it's hard cover. So you roll 6 dice for the mortar, and a 6 will be a kill, and a 5 will be shot. And then you roll 6 dice for the rifle team. 6 will be a kill, 5 will be a shot. So yeah, grab your 6 dice and roll away.
Okay, so for the Canadian second phase, you can see from the preceding video, Paul was only able to bring forward a team. So he brought in a rifle team and placed that next to the 2-inch mortar. On the Canadian right, Arno basically edged forward towards the heavily fortified German positions in depth, and there wasn't really much going on over there. The Canadians were very tentative on their right-hand flank. On the left-hand flank, things simply were going fairly pear-shaped, as the Germans were able to deploy additional squads and achieve good firepower supremacy on that flank.
He's still in effect.
Yeah, it goes for at least for the first turn. So there's a pre-game barrage still falling on the Germans.
You're going to be one of the just kick up. You get a point on your team.
Yeah, the smoke grenade there. So smoke grenades don't blind, they just make it harder to hit. It's -1 to hit. So in this phase, the Germans have basically got everybody on except for their senior leader and their Panzer Shrek over this side, and they've got everyone on Overwatch.
It's just a firing.
And then
you can redo it.
over here, more Germans have deployed, and they're pouring the hurt on that British section that's isolated behind the wall.
Using one of the squads.
So the Canadians in this phase, things are really gone pear-shaped. 2-inch mortar is routed. Their senior leader, the sergeant, is killed. They're receiving covering fire. So there's lieutenant's come on, and he's removed a bit of shock. He's thrown a couple of smoke grenades to protect those guys. And what have your guys done out?
So, nothing yet.
Okay, well, I'll let you get on with it, and you can tell us what your plan is.
So the platoon commander's just come on, activated with that 4.
Yep. So he's come on. What's he doing?
He's going to remove the pin.
I can't remove a pin.
How
You
does-
can remove shock.
So he'll remove 2 shock.
Yep. And at the end of the turn, they will become unpinned if you can get the shock down a little bit further.
Okay. The section is activated.
Yep.
With the junior leader. The junior leader will order them with the first thing to fire back at the.
Okay.
And with the second one,
really?
throw a smoke.
Okay, so you're going to fire first and then throw smoke. Yes. Yep. And what's the other? What other things have you got to do?
And then the senior leader is going to activate the
mortar?
mortar to fire
What options have you got?
No.
over there.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, so a quick review of where we're at this stage. Arno's platoon on the right, not really moving forward, very, very tentative. The Canadians, Paul's platoon on the left, are in real strife. They're receiving fire from multiple squads. They've got an isolated section in the diamond-shaped field, and they're just getting chewed up. So we have a situation where you've got one isolated section being fired upon by 2 German squads. So what we see here is now that Arno's platoon is not only are they not going forward, but they're now being distracted by events that are occurring to their left. So suffice to say, the situation's going very, very poorly for the Canadians at this stage.
Okay, so after all that firing in the German phase, this section is dead. The platoon sergeant is dead.
Think about it.
The platoon commander is dead.
I'm lucky
The
I
mortar
had
team is routed.
Andrew.
And that took them from a force morale of 9 to 0.
I
So
need
this
Overwatch Masters,
platoon
my other.
on this side is completely routed. They're not going forward, which just leaves Arno's depleted platoon, facing a German platoon behind minefields and wire.
And whilst I'm at it, Arno, just add insult to injury, I'm going to be shooting a Bren gun again.
So at this point we can see what happens when a situation evolves where you have one enemy or one force completely dictating the tempo and the battle, and the other side is simply reacting. So on the Canadian left, Paul's platoon was in real strife. A section had been wiped out. The platoon sergeant had been killed early on. The junior leader in charge of the squad that was in the diamond field had been wounded. The mortar team had been routed. Then the section was wiped out, leaving just the wounded junior leader. At the same time, the platoon commander, who'd come in forward and tried to sort the situation out, he also became a casualty. So what with a section being wiped out, junior leader wounded, 2 senior leaders killed, and a team routing, the morale on the left flank just collapsed really, really quickly. And the Canadians on the right, Arno's platoon, even though they finally started moving forward towards the Germans that were entrenched and behind wire and behind minefields, they were distracted from what was going on to their front by events that were occurring on their left.
With what Arno's facing here,
Yep.
should he have marched laterally down the road to support his mate?
I could have, but he.
But looking at what he's facing here,
But there's nothing to support. He's got it.
Yeah,
It's
I mean-
a charnel house.
Yeah, I think. See, what you have here is you've got a really good, strong left shoulder, or what they call a hard shoulder.
Yeah.
So you've got minefields, wire, and machine guns out of the yin yang covering this area.
Yeah.
And then you've got over here, you've only got a platoon, but they've got good interlocking fields of fire. So you've got one squad here firing across this way, you've got a squad here firing across this way, and then you've got another squad in here firing across that way. So you've got good interlocking arcs of fire. So you're dominating this ground here with firepower.
And you've got to realise this is the reality.
Yeah, a squad going. This is what happens when you have a section isolated. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 MG34s firing onto one section, and you do the math. That's all up. You've got around about 30 dice.
Your
flying
patrol
in.
phase should have tried to stop me there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
Yeah, if your patrol phase stopped me there, and then your
but it's
jump
hard
off.
to do when you launch from a single spot here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But there's 2 platoons. It's not a single platoon game of normal. So
yeah,
there's the lesson.
Yeah.
If you have 2 platoons, at the minimum 2 jumping off points.
yeah.
So the result was,
Especially because you had 4, because you could have gone 1, 2,
Yeah.
right, and then 1, 2.
Yeah.
yeah.
So no, we had 5, right?
Yeah,
the next
no,
one.
the centre one maintains your balance between the 2.
Yeah. Well, you start with
Which is
3.
what I did.
You start with 3 and 2.
He got those buildings because he was able to aggressively push his
Yeah,
spotting mark.
because and that's the thing. Because I started here as a singular.
Yeah.
Whereas because there's 2 platoons.
Didn't he get his own mark?
No. Because I'm used to playing only 1 platoon.
So
I
what
just
happened
started from
basically
one.
is the British left flank platoon
Never patrolled.
it stalled and then broke, and the right flank
see.
platoon moved up, but wasn't going to be able to get through the wire and that.
So if you started in the centre, right,
Yeah.
you could have put all 4 there on your first one, or you could have gone left 2 there, and then you put 1, 2, and then you put those out there, and then start bouncing them forward.
I mean, I know I hadn't even hit my defences.
I'd done.
Yeah, actually, like there's not a single dead German on this side, is there?
And you hadn't even hit my defences.
But see,
And,
you're greater than 12 inches,
Because
so
I'm just
what will happen
continually on Overwatch, and I'm thinking if I was
is you
yellow
go
command, I'd be going, this is a
one in the
joke.
centre,
Yeah.
This is a joke. I'm not
one
going
in
to
the
push
centre.
it.
No,
Why would I?
no,
Two
not
on
through
this
the
side.
wire, minefields,
Two on
and
this
Why
side.
would I
then
actually push against that?
Right, your first move is there,
No, it's death on a
your
stick.
second move is there,
But it's all a learning experience.
third move is
So,
there.
So what I would try to
Right,
do
so
is
that's kept
make a
you-
lateral
hang on.
move,
Yeah.
and then you go there,
and hit these
there,
guys from
Yeah.
a
and then you
different direction,
expand
Yeah.
that way.
without hopefully taking too much fire from.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can set up a base of fire from
Then
over
this
there,
one, this one can go this way,
fire onto those guys, and
and then that can
Well,
push
the hills,
up.
the
and
hills
then
good
that push
screening
up
Yes.
there.
against all this.
yeah, I mean, it's a good learning experience
But-
at the end of the day. So that's big chain of command.
What I wanted
So
to
what
be,
happened in the actual battle?
what
I
I
don't
wanted
think this
to
is
be was
this is not based on an actual
Oh.
battle.
So,
is it?
no, well, it's an actual campaign. So,
Yeah.
in the actual battle,
Yeah.
the Canadians cleared the area south of the River Warren,
Yeah,
and because the Germans were on their ass, they managed to get a bridgehead across with very low casualties,
yeah,
and then they pushed through. So, the Germans did much better on the tabletop than they did in real life. The problem was, the reason is they actually pulled behind the River Warren, and so when the Canadians launched their thrust across the river, that's when they got hit with a counterattack. And the Black
not
Watch
using Australian currency,
was
are you?
wiped out at the Battle of Waterloo.
I do believe I am.
Yeah.
So that was our introduction to Chain of Command and Big Chain of Command at League of Ancients. Pretty successful insofar as there was a lot of people that were interested in what was going on. A couple of people joined in the game. The game itself didn't play out as well as I had hoped, and I put that down to the fact that basically the Germans just really dominated right from the get-go, and the Canadians were pretty much trying to play catch-up right from the start of the game. The patrol phase didn't go well for the Canadians. They didn't make much ground on the left, which was really the only place that they were going to make ground. The Germans set up a very, very good defensive position on the on their left flank, or the Canadian right, and the deployment for the Canadian troops on the Canadian left flank just went. It was just a train wreck from the get-go. Everyone sort of like agreed that it was fortunate that the Canadian platoon commander on the left flank was killed in action, because he would probably have been killed by a firing squad after a court-martial. So yeah, it was a good day with good guys. We introduced chain of command to a few guys, and the feedback we've got is that there'll be a lot more of it played in the future. For my part, I'll be putting together an actual AAR, after action report, game report, as opposed to just simply reporting on a game, which is what we've done here. So the next thing I'll be moving on to is playing a game of chain of command with one of the locals here in Bendigo, and filming it phase by phase, and hopefully we'll get that up fairly soon. So if you found this interesting, please leave a comment. Feel free to subscribe. There will be a lot more in the way of actual game reports coming very shortly. And until then, I'll catch you later. Ciao for now. This episode of Check Your Leader was brought to you by Lasercast. If you're interested in some top quality bases for your miniatures, regardless of scale, if you're interested in some quality terrain, minefields, barbed wire entanglements and such, my advice is check out Lasercast. Excellent quality, good value, speedy service. Really, what more could you possibly want? Lasercast.